Speed dueling, a new way to play the physical TCG. What is up, guys? Dzeeff here, and today I'm doing a discussion that a lot of people have asked me to do, and they asked me to do when this was first announced, but I wanted to wait. And what we're talking about today is speed dueling, which for all intents and purposes is basically the middle ground between Duel Links and the TCG, although in some ways, as we'll talk about in this video, it's sort of like a step back. It's not quite a true middle ground in terms of the format, but we'll talk about that. And what's going on here is that I feel that it's important for me to discuss this because not many people play both the TCG and the Duel Links as much as I do. I've heard a lot of Duel Links tubers talk about this. I've heard a lot of TCG players talk about this, but I haven't really heard from a lot of people that play both formats, and I think I have a unique perspective to bring to the table. So speed dueling has been delayed. I should mention that as well. We didn't know a lot of information about it, but we did know that it was coming out in early December. It has since been pushed back to late January, and I can kind of tell why, because first off, there's already like a mistype on this very first article that they posted, but also it seems like the cards themselves aren't actually finished. So this is done in Duel Links format, and there are skills, but instead of picking a character and like doing that kind of stuff, you have a skill card that has a character's picture on it, and then you can flip over it, and then it has a skill on the other side. So it's a two-sided card. We haven't seen pictures of those, like in terms of how big they are. I don't know if there's a size of a normal card. And I should mention before we scroll down one last thing, you can use your speed dueling cards in the TCG. You cannot use your TCG cards in speed dueling. So just to keep in mind, even if I'm pretty sure that it said that even if you have a TCG equivalent of a speed dueling card, you cannot use the TCG equivalent, just so that they always know that the cards you're using are legal. All the cards do have a watermark on them. It's in the effect text box. It's a little hard to see on the pictures that we have of the decks, but it is worth mentioning that there is a watermark on there so that people know that you're only doing speed dueling cards. So this first skill card, My Valentine, and it already, like I said, it has a typo on it. So it says at the start of the duel, flip this card over. That's not true. I think that I don't even know where they were. I think they were trying to put that on the other side, because this is a side that you're going to show your opponent before you activate the skill. And as you'll see with the other skill cards they've revealed, they've changed that text. Also, like, what the heck? I mean, just look at this. There's so much blank space. Like, these just look awful. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I think it's a cool idea, but these look terrible. I mean, they truly do. Like, there's so much blank space. I hope they fix that. So what does this skill card do? What is this first inaugural skill card that they added? So it's called Tribal Synergy, which is interesting because the two archetypes it's using don't have any synergy with each other. So it says if you have an Amazonas monster and a Harpy monster in your hand, reveal them and draw one card. Also, and this does have two different skills, which is something we don't really see in Duel Links. Duel Links has skills you can use multiple times, but usually they're the same skill. I don't even know of any skills that are like two different ones. So the other skill is if you control an Amazonas monster and a Harpy monster, draw two cards. So first off, those strategies, those themes have no synergy, which, like I said, is interesting because it's called Tribal Synergy. Neither of those things go together. When I first recorded this video a couple days ago, we didn't actually have the decks revealed, and I thought maybe they'll make some synergy up. They'll make some sort of deck where it makes sense that this you'd play them together. No. Like, no, they didn't quite do that. But this is kind of bad and kind of good. It's bad because you don't want to play those two archetypes together. It's good because, first off, relative to the other power level of the decks that are released so far, the Amazonas and the Harpy cards in particular, even though they haven't given us like the good cards from those archetypes, are better than most of the other cards revealed. So maybe you would just play them just to play them. And then the other good thing is that this is actually a +3 if you get to resolve both skills. The first one you would likely be able to resolve on the very first hand, which is pretty cool. You're not losing any card economy with that. You just have to have an Amazonas and a Harpy in your hand. Second skill, a little bit more tricky because there's no Amazonas Onslaught to special summon them, so you have to do like two normal summons. Is that possible? Probably, and I think that on second thought, like, this skill might not be that terrible. Just, I mean, it's terrible in relation to many of the dueling skills that we're used to, but in terms of like the other skills that we're going to look at, this one might actually be the best one, only because it's such a good plus in card advantage. The other skill, Maximilian Pegasus, and you can see that they change the text. It now says flip this card over and you activate this skill, which makes way more sense. Millennium Eye. At the start of the duel, look at your opponent's opening hand. You may choose to have that player shuffle their hand into their deck and draw a new hand. This is literally just reverse restart from Duel Links, or at least the pre-nerfed version. In that, like, instead of looking at your own hand and deciding if it's good and putting it back, you're looking at your opponent's hand. It's obviously used for the opposite reason. In the case of Restart, you're using it in your deck to get a better hand. In the case of Millennium Eye, you're using it on your opponent's hand to hopefully give them a worse hand. Or if you notice that they already have a bad hand, you can just let them keep that bad hand. In terms of how powerful this is, we won't quite know. So one of the problems with this card, at least from what I can tell already, is that the decks that are being played are pretty much just beat down decks, in which case this card probably won't be very useful. If I think of like what decks this would be good against in Duel Links, it'd be decks like Spellbooks, where they can brick like 20% of the time. This way you can either hopefully give them a chance to brick by shuffling their deck back, or shuffling their hand back into the deck and drawing a new hand, or if they have bricked already, you can then just know that you can just go all in and just beat them really fast. So we'll have to see how powerful this is. I think this is a skill that gets better with time. The last skill is really bad. I mean, truly, I don't know how they thought this was good. I mean, there's way more skills to be revealed, at least at the time of filming this, but oh my god, this card's bad. So at the start of the opponent's turn, before they draw, you may look at the top 3 cards of their deck and rearrange them in any order. Like, that's it. That's all there is to it. And what they use to talk about the skill is really funny to me, because they talk about Spiral Drone, which, to be fair, Spiral Drone does have that exact effect. The difference is that in the case of Spiral Drone, you're using it to set up some pretty ridiculous combos with Spiral Double Helix. In the case of Millennium Necklace, you're really not doing that. Maybe there are some like fringe cases where this is good. When you get your opponent down to a couple cards, you could just stack a bunch of like useless cards to the top of their deck. But once again, this is a beatdown format. Most of the cards in your opponent decks are going to be beat down cards. This doesn't really matter. This is a type of skill, and even this one is a type of skill that matters when the format gets to where people are playing more powerful cards but also more brick decks. When you have decks that are just full of high attack monsters, these skills don't really do anything. As for the decks themselves, so we had this image revealed a couple days ago, and then today, at the time of recording this, we have the actual decks themselves leaked. This kind of just shows you, first off, I just want to mention, for someone that doesn't play the TCG, if you were to go to a store, I'm not sure you would actually realize that these weren't TCG cards. Well, to be fair, you can technically play these in the TCG, but these decks, the quality of them is way worse than like a normal TCG starter deck. So I feel like this is going to cause some confusion. I mean, I know some of you that play TCG are going to say like, oh, of course, like these don't look like TCG decks, but like they kind of do. If you really think about it, they actually do look like TCG decks. They just say Speed Duel on them. Is that any difference from like something saying High Speed Riders? I don't know. It's up to you to decide. Anyway, as far as these decks go, they're really bad. Like, this is by far the best one, and it's really bad. The only Amazoness monsters are Sage, Amazoness Swordswoman, and Amazoness Chainmaster, which aren't very good cards. I mean, Swordswoman's pretty good, Sage is okay, but there's no, like, Onslaught, there's no Village, there's no Princess, there's none of that kind of stuff, there's no Queen. This is all you really need. I mean, I'll go through the other ones, but this is, like, all you really need to know is that this is, like, one of the best decks, and it looks really horrible. But we can look at the other ones, so let's move down here. This is the Yugi one, and it has some good cards, like Legion of the Fiend Jester is pretty good. Other than that, though, not so much. I think Wonder Wand will be way too slow in this format. But overall, this is, I think, what people thought Duel Links would be, just sort of anime-focused decks, and maybe in that way it's good, but try to keep in mind, like, these are advertised towards people coming from Duel Links into the TCG, and I feel like what's going to happen to people that have never played the TCG, which is a lot of people, probably not the people watching these videos on my channel, but in general, there are a lot of people that haven't played the TCG. What's going to happen is they're going to go from Duel Links, a super fast, super consistent format, and they're going to come to these Speed Duel decks, and they're going to be like, man, the TCG is just like really dumb. Like, it's so simple. There aren't any combos. It's just normal summon a big monster and pass. I'm going to go back to Duel Links. This isn't really representative of either the Duel Links format or the TCG format, which I feel is like a real missed opportunity. Like, just looking at these, like, these are so bad. Like, they're just so bad. But anyway, that's pretty much going to wrap up my discussion. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. What do you guys think about these speed dueling decks? I'd love to hear the opinion from people that play Duel Links or the TCG or both. I think that all those perspectives are really important for discussing these speed dueling decks. I personally am not very impressed. Hopefully the skill cards that get added are better. I also don't know how long-term this is going to be. I mean, they have said that they're going to announce packs for it, and they're like 3-card packs, but unless those packs power levels like ridiculous, like I don't see how this format's ever even going to be better than just playing like GOAT format with your friends. I'm just not really sure. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you later. Goodbye.